So, part one of a series of Amulet School publications, which will include all amulets in the previous picture. This first recording is the Pra Somdej Pim Sen Daay from the collection we see behind us. I have chosen this as the first. And you can find this both from Wat Rakang Kositaram and from Wat Rakang. And some say that some were also placed in with the Gate Chayo series and have been found also, of course, in the group Wat Rakang and other group hiding place finds. And this Sen Daay looks very calcified. It's very dense, fossilized kind of effect. You can see all of the shrinkage, all of the essential Muon San ingredients, most of them, because there are actually many ingredients. And you have different effects, no two Somdej the same. And this one looks very clean, so it's obviously not from the Chedi Stupa find in Wat Bangkhon. It is from Wat Rakang. Looking at the amount of Namantang eel oil in it, could have also have been placed at Wat Gate Chayo, but has never been placed in a group, which is why it is clean. And you can see all the particles, the cow gonbat, cow suk, hinsilati kun, which are white, alms bowl rice, both dried and fresh, and quartz type substances, the black bailan powders, the red spots, which are Pra Somdej broken up of Gamping Pet amulets, ancient amulets, the red specks. And the yellow also comes from Geson pollens, but the amount of pollens or Namantang eel, tang oil, yellow tang oil present within a Pra Somdej of Somdej Pra Puttajarn differs between Wat Rakang and Gate Chayo and Bangkhon, and also differs down to each mixture, each pot of clay made for each time the pot of clay run out. But we can see here, examining the particles of Muon San, that we can find all of the essential ingredients and the aging aspects when we look in macro close-up. This is something you cannot really fake. And the calcification, petrification of the amulet, of the wet clay as it becomes hard and stone marble-like, and all these particles caught up within, which are completely irremovable. They're completely all one substance, just welded together over time. And this is much more difficult or impossible to fake. That's why I always teach people to look at Muon San, sacred powders, and their aging features. You can see here Pra Somdej, the red speck, and the white pieces, which could be rice, could be quartz, hinsilati kun. The rear face always tells you a lot about the ingredients. The edges will tell you which era. So this is not first era, because there would be more contraction in the edges, but might be early era, despite that fact, because of the amount of tang oil, which lessens the amount. If it's mixed with just holy water and little tang oil, the sacred powders, you won't get as much contraction lines on the edges. With this one, I put it down to the oiliness of the substance, which gives it this very clear cut, and although petrified, very clear cut front face details. And you can see very separately all of the particles within the Muon San of the amulet, which are too many to list, but could say a few. So I shall list a few of known and lesser known ingredients and see if you can spot some. Pong tube si khao kun, slightly grey powdery incense powders. Khao pliakและข้าวสุก means the husks and the actual grains of rice from bintabat alms rounds, which Somdej Pra would keep leftovers from and use them to grind into powders. And that some of the white crystalline chunks you might see in the Somdej comes from that. Gluai, bananas, which mixed up would help to give a stickiness and a consistency to the sacred clay. Pong din saw pong, which actually means just chalk. Means powder of the pencil that is fluffy. It actually means chalk. But sacred chalk, which goes through ritual empowerment. And naman tang iu, the tang oil, which is used to mix along with prayer water to mix the powders in the sacred clay. Pong geson, dok mai, pong tube, pollens and flowers from offerings to the Buddha, and incenses, and dried flowers, and the sticks from burnt incense sticks to the Buddha, the actual stick itself that is left over, powdered, and that's some of the lighter red colored things you might see. Pong Prat Gruk Gamping Pet, which means the Gamping Pet, Prat Gruk, hiding place, find ancient amulets. Somdej Pra took the Pra Somdej and other Gamping Pet amulets like the Prat Lila, red clay amulets which would have black particles like lye and other ancient magical substances in. He would break them up inside, which is why you see red particles inside, one of the reasons. And Gon Pong Si Kao Glomon, don't know how to translate that, but it's like a white, it's another substance used in the clay. I might have to make a different publication about that because I don't have the translation. Kren Si Kao Kun, scaly substances. Gak Si Nam Tan on, and Gak Gan Tube Si Dam means like the from black incense powders, the residue of incense powders that are brown or that are black, and of course other things like bailan and hinsilati kun powder, hinsilati kun, dinpong, which is a marsh peat earth, and dinsaw, pongwised, which is the 5 special sacred powders of Somdej Pra Puttajarn Prohmrangsri, and many other particles. But that should give you already some of the elements to look for within the Muan San clay of the Pra Somdej of Somdej Pra Puttajarn Prohmrangsri, who made the famous Somdej amulets of Wat Rakang, Wat Getayo, Wat Intravihan, meaning Wat Bangkun Prom, as well as the other finds such as Wat Ganayanamid and the Grot Tap Cow amulets. And Sir John Spencer for this particular Amulet School study of the Pra Somdej Pim Sen Daay. This one, from my opinion, from Wat Rakang, not Bangkun Prom, authentic, very perfect. So now that you have studied the Muan San of this particular Somdej Pim Sen Daay, which if you wish to contact me out of store, you can contact me on line ID Thailand Amulets or at thailandamulets@outlook.com, of course. I'm going to make one more video about this, which will show the design features, which we call in Thai amulet studies do tamni, to look at for the mistakes, which means small idiosyncrasies of the block press which cause details of the front face and the borders and edges to have certain features that you can recognize to say it's a Pim Yai, a Pim Chedi, a Pim Sen Daay, a Pim Tan Ku, Pim Ok Rong, Pim Jet Chan, Pim 11 Chan, นิยมพิมพ์ A นี่บล็อก A บล็อก B, block press A, block press B, and so on, or from the first era, the second era, the third era, yeah. And also can say this one is in Pong Tube, or this one is in Geson pollens, or this one is in the classic powders, Pong Viset, because the Pra Somdej, Wat Rakang Kositaram, and so on. Somdej though didn't use always exactly the same mixture for every Somdej. So I hope to be seeing you in the next episode, covering this particular Ong Tining, #1, Pim Sen Daay amulet, so that you can look at both sides of the method of study and use the Du Tamni method after mastering, of course, the recognition of authentic Mueang San. This is, of course, because my school of thought and study defines the authenticity of amulets, beginning with its first step through the authentication of the Mueang San sacred clay, and secondly, by looking at the Pim, not the other way around. So if you like to follow my school of thought, please subscribe. Here's Ajahn Spencer with this one, signing off.